Brian POV. Jane's assumption that she could dismiss me with ease was gravely mistaken. I'm not one to relent easily. I pursue what I desire, and Jane is no exception. I won't allow myself to be shackled to another merely out of obligation when I have a willing but hesitant mate in her. My father may disapprove vehemently upon discovering she's a rogue, yet I remain indifferent to his judgment. If she's truly meant for me, then I trust the moon goddess implicitly. She wouldn't bestow upon me a flawed mate. Jane will be mine, of that I am determined. Everyone has their limits, and I will discover hers. Grinning uncontrollably, I observed from across the street as the tow truck arrived at the hotel. Moreover, I had already arranged for the health and safety inspector to inspect the premises, spotting his car in the parking lot from my strategic vantage point. Her truck served as an additional nuisance, its beeping alerting her staff to the unfolding situation. Zelda, Jane's loyal companion, hurriedly rushed outside upon noticing the commotion caused by the reversing truck bearing the hotel's logo. Jane's belief that she can disregard the mate bond will soon be shattered. I intend to ensure she encounters me at every turn. Zelda frantically waved her arms at the driver, but my man Dwight remained undeterred as he continued his task. Exiting the cab, Dwight confronted Zelda, his imposing figure towering over her. Though I couldn't hear their conversation clearly, I could discern Zelda's attempts to persuade him to leave, citing private property rights. Sorry, love, can't do that. This vehicle's got defects and has been ordered for impoundment, he informed her resolutely. Stepping out of my car, I leaned against its hood, catching the attention of the tow truck driver, who gave me a thumbs up in acknowledgement. I reciprocated with a nod, signaling him to proceed, and he began securing the vehicle for towing. It didn't take long before Zelda returned, dragging a visibly frustrated Jane along. Jane's face flushed with anger as she forcefully shoved the man in an attempt to halt the hoisting of her car onto the bed of the truck. Both Dwight and I were taken aback by her audacity. Despite her fervent efforts, it was futile. Dwight remained steadfast, as immovable as a solid structure, while Jane's attempts seemed feeble in comparison. Desperate to regain control of the situation, Jane attempted to snatch the controller from Dwight's grasp, but he held it just out of her reach. I couldn't help but chuckle at the sheer intensity of rage on her face. My laughter drew her attention, and her piercing gray-blue eyes locked onto mine. For a moment, she seemed to freeze me in place with her gaze, her lips pressed into a thin line and her hands clenched into fists. With determined strides, she stormed over to me, her anger palpable as she stopped abruptly in front of me. I folded my arms across my chest, prepared for whatever confrontation she was about to unleash. I can't help but find her miniature outburst amusing. Her diminutive stature poses no threat to me whatsoever. Jane barely reaches up to my chin, forcing her to tilt her face upward to meet my gaze. A smirk dances across my lips as her eyes practically shoot fiery daggers at me. Thankfully, she's not a witch. Otherwise, I might find myself cursed by the intensity of her glare. She can try to ignore me all she wants, but Jane can't disregard my influence in this city. Sooner or later, she'll be compelled to acknowledge it. What the hell do you think you're doing? She demands, jabbing her finger into my chest. I seize her hand, holding it firmly in mine, and she struggles to break free. Her efforts are feeble against my strength, and it unsettles me. What if someone else were to grab her? The thought sends a chill down my spine. It's frighteningly easy to hurt her, even unintentionally. As she growls at me, I notice the absence of any discernible aura around her, as if she didn't possess one at all. Even rogues had faint auras, albeit much weaker compared to those of packwolves, but Jane's was entirely absent. Despite her attempt at defiance, her growl sounded feeble, lacking the resonance of true aggression. If it weren't for the anger etched on her face, it might have passed as a mere purr. Release me, and order him to stop, she demands, her voice laced with frustration. Let me mark you, and I'll consider it. I counter, watching as she snarls in response, her canines bared. Feel free to try. Bite if you must. Whether you choose to be marked by me or not, you'll still belong to me in the end. You're absolutely infuriating, Jane snarls, her frustration evident in her voice. I tug her closer, spinning her around before pressing her against the hood of my car. Her breaths grow heavier as I draw near, and the sensation of her body against mine is electrifying. Her scent is intoxicating, and I struggle to resist the urge to bury my face in her neck. Eventually, I give in to temptation, and she gasps in response. As I draw closer to her, her hand in mine begins to loosen, and she becomes pliant against me. Her breathing quickens as I trail my nose along her throat, reaching up to her ear. Her warmth is inviting, and her heartbeat echoes loudly in my ears. I feel her weak grip on the front of my shirt, a feeble attempt to resist the pull between us. I can sense her struggling against the influence of the bond, resisting its pull. I urge her silently to surrender, to yield herself to me as her alpha. The rumble of my purr reverberates through my chest, and without thinking, I run my tongue across her neck, savoring the taste of her skin. Her flavor surpasses even the intoxicating scent that surrounds her, tempting me to indulge my primal instincts. Yet, before I can lose control, she recoils, attempting to push me away with newfound determination. I withdraw, meeting her gaze as she lashes out, her palm connecting with my face in a sharp slap. The sting of her slap lingers on my cheek, and if looks could kill, I'd surely be reduced to dust under the intensity of her glare. "Get off me, you brute. Stop trying to force me to do what you want," she commands, her voice laced with defiance. I massage my tingling cheek with my hand, the sensation lingering from her forceful slap. However, I remain undeterred, maintaining my proximity to her. Glancing over my shoulder, I observe the tow truck departing with her vehicle in tow. "Well, looks like you'll need a ride to the impound yard," I remark casually. She emits a low growl, and in response, I purr softly, provoking her further. She begins to smack my chest in frustration. "I swear, Brian, you'll regret this. Tell him to bring it back now. That truck holds sentimental value for me. It was a gift from someone I cared about. Now call him. Undo it," she demands vehemently. I trail my finger down her neck, relishing the shiver that courses through her body in response to my touch. The undeniable effect I have on her stirs a primal satisfaction within me, evident in the twitch of my hot dog beneath my pants. She may resist, but the bond between us is undeniable. "Not until you agree to be mine," I assert, my voice low and insistent. "If you want it back, all it takes is one little mark right here." My finger pauses where her shoulder meets her neck, and I feel a tingling sensation in my gums. The urge to mark her as mine overwhelms me, the desire to leave my imprint on her skin, a testament to our bond, consuming my thoughts. I meet her pleading gaze as she implores me, her voice softening in desperation. With a sigh, I lower my gaze to follow her line of sight, watching as the tow truck disappears down the street, carrying her truck away. "It's just a truck, Jane," I remark, my tone firm yet tinged with sympathy. "If you want it back, you know what you have to do." Her jaw clenches, and she turns to face me, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. My heart sinks at the sight, a pang of guilt stirring within me. It was just an old truck, nothing more. Why she would become so emotionally invested in it was beyond my comprehension. "You have no right," she snarls defiantly, her voice quivering with suppressed emotion. "Perhaps you forget who I am. I hold sway over this city, Jane. I dictate what occurs within its borders," I assert, my tone laced with authority. "The sooner you come to terms with that reality, the smoother your existence will be. I could provide you with everything you desire." "Not everything, Brian. You can't restore the last 5 years of my life," she retorts, pushing me away, and I allow her to do so. "If you haven't grasped it by now, Brian, I couldn't care less about your social standing or your wealth. I've built my own empire, and I don't require yours, nor do I desire it," she declares defiantly. "I have the power to make your life a living hell, Jane," I warn, refusing to yield. Jane's laughter catches me off guard. A dismissal of a threat from the blood alpha isn't something to be taken lightly. She's no fool. She understands the power I wield and the devastation I could unleash upon her and her associates. I could easily demolish her hotel without a second thought, and the repercussions would be minimal, especially for a rogue like her. "Do your worst, Brian," she taunts, her laughter ringing in the air. "But don't forget, my reputation as a rogue pales in comparison to yours. Whose downfall do you think will cause greater suffering? Certainly not mine. They already view me as the lowest of the low in this city, yet they continue to patronize my establishment. Miserable? You don't understand the true meaning of the word, but you will. I'll see to it." Jane pivots on her heel, preparing to stride across the road. As my phone begins to ring, she shoots a curious glance in my direction. I retrieve it from my pocket, noticing the caller ID displaying the name of the towing company. "This must be regarding your car," I inform her. She halts and faces me, crossing her arms over her chest. I accept the call and activate the speakerphone so she can listen in. "Alpha," Dwight's voice comes through the phone. "Shall I return the vehicle? Or should I proceed to the impound yard?" he inquires. I glance at Jane, raising an eyebrow expectantly. She shoots me a glare before responding defiantly, "Go to hell, Alpha." Dwight lets out a low whistle in response to her tone. "Well, then, what are your orders?" "Crush it," I instruct him, maintaining eye contact with Jane. She takes a step toward me, her hands clenching into fists. After a moment of visible struggle, she closes her eyes tightly, inhaling deeply. Alpha. Dwight's voice queries once more. I already told you. I respond firmly, crush it. Take it to the scrapyard and ensure it's beyond salvageable. Her eyes snap open, meeting my gaze with a mixture of anger and desperation. I raise an eyebrow in response to her silent protest. Jane's eyes shimmer with unshed tears, and she shakes her head in disbelief as I end the call. This could have been avoided, I remark, my tone tinged with regret as I regard her solemnly. Yeah, if only I never met you. All of this could have been avoided. As Jane storms away, her words linger in the air, stinging with bitter truth. I watch as she crosses the road, refusing the comfort offered by her friends. Their futile attempts to reach out to her only serve to fuel her determination as she disappears from view. With a heavy sigh, I continue driving, my mind consumed by thoughts of her. Halfway home, I find myself unable to shake the memories of our encounter. I resolve to delve deeper into her background, to uncover more about this enigmatic woman who has captured my attention. I realize her last name should be on the hotel's information, providing a starting point for my investigation. Understanding her past might shed light on her defiance and why she would react so strongly to the loss of a mere car. Furthermore, I'm intrigued by her status as a rogue. It's evident she's not a typical rogue, and I'm curious to learn what circumstances led her down this path. There's more to Jane than meets the eye, and I'm determined to uncover the truth behind her facade. The memory of Jane's trembling lip weighs heavily on my conscience, stirring a sense of remorse within me. It's absurd to think that she couldn't afford another car. After all, she's the owner of a prestigious hotel. Why would she cling to that old junker? If anything, she should be grateful for its removal, providing her with an excuse to purchase a more suitable vehicle. Yet, despite my rationalizations, a pang of guilt gnaws at me. Damn it, her car, I mutter under my breath, my realization causing me to swerve to the side of the road abruptly. Hastily retrieving my phone from my pocket, I dial Dwight's number, determined to rectify my mistake. Hello? Dwight's voice comes through the phone. Where are you? I inquire urgently. I'm next door at the scrapyard, carrying out your instructions, he responds. Stop them from crushing it, I demand, my voice tinged with desperation. What? Dwight sounds confused. Please, tell me they haven't crushed it yet, I plead, my heart racing with apprehension. The car. Tell me you haven't crushed the car. Relief floods over me as I hear Dwight's panicked response. The banging and commotion in the background indicate his frantic efforts to halt the destruction of Jane's car. My heart pounds in my chest as I wait anxiously, praying that it wasn't too late. Finally, Dwight's heavy breathing fills the line as he grabs the phone once more. That was close, he gasps, his voice strained. Good thing you called. Another second, and it would have been crushed into a can. I exhale a sigh of relief as Dwight's breathing gradually steadies over the phone. What do you want me to do with it? He inquires, his voice returning to its usual calmness. Put it in my garage, out of sight. Cover it up, I instruct, a sense of urgency lingering in my tone. I don't want my father seeing it if he happens to stop by. Got it, Dwight acknowledges before I move to end the call. However, his next words stop me in my tracks. Hey, boss. Yeah, what is it? I respond, curiosity piqued. She's your mate, isn't she? Dwight's question catches me off guard, his insight surprising me. I haven't seen you put this much effort into pursuing a girl in quite a while. She must be something special if you're willing to make her chase after you. Keep it between us. I don't need my father knowing for now. I instruct firmly, emphasizing the need for discretion. Yeah, we all know he hates rogues, but by the look on her face when she spotted you, she hates alphas more, Dwight remarks astutely. I let out a weary sigh, acknowledging the truth in his observation. Jane's disdain for alphas was palpable. Oh, and you might want to have patrols stationed around her perimeter, Dwight adds, his tone serious. Forsaken have been spotted multiple times in the area over the last couple of weeks. That hotel backs onto the reserve, so it's not a safe place right now. Your dad pulled all the patrols away to focus on the pack's perimeters only. My anger flares at the revelation. My father had no authority to prioritize the pack's safety over that of the city. Thanks, I'll handle it. I respond tersely, my jaw clenched with frustration. I'll get Martin onto it straight away. With that, I end the call, resolving to address the issue with my father's misguided actions and ensure Jane's safety.